Well, I had been all set up to do a video about the Winter Soldier re-releases that had finally come in from Marvel Legends because I'd been chasing this whole Winter Soldier thing for a long time, and I've done previous videos where I've talked about kit bashing to get the best, Black Widow I could and the best Cap from that movie and trying to put the teams together and everything like that, as they say. And my shipment had finally come in, and I thought, great, I can talk about all the different versions of Black Widow that are options to do this versus the one they've just come out with, and Cap is no different. And I got everything broken out and set up and ready to go, and then Hasbro announced it was laying off 1,100 people 2 weeks before Christmas. And I was just like, yeah, kind of tone deaf to do a video like this right now. What bothers me here is, it's no secret that, I don't like Hasbro, as you know, as a corporation. I have a great, I feel healthy distrust of corporations and their leadership. And in this particular case, I'm appalled, but I'm not surprised at the level of stepping on people's faces that's going on. You've got 1,100 people that are being shuffed off the company 2 weeks before the holidays, and that's after a year of other layoffs that have occurred in batches. Meanwhile, CEO Chris Cox gets to walk away with a $9 million compensation package for the year. Because we're now living in a time where it's not about rewarding the leadership for the company thriving. It's about rewarding the leadership for keeping the shareholders paid and keeping the lights on. In other words, it's not about growing anything. It's not even about thriving and really building something. It's just about hanging on with your fingernails. If you're good at stripping the company down to nothing and hanging on with your fingernails, we won't see that as failure. Even though it is failure, we will see that as success, and you will get your $9 million while 1,100 families are impacted from your poor decisions.
It's stuff like this that gives me trust issues.
It's the times we live in. I don't want to be so glib as to say it is what it is. I don't. Corporations are always going to corporate, but it is a staggering testament to the failure of the corporate MBA playbook. Acquire, 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 acquire. All right, now what? Put out a lot of pablum products and be very corporate about it and just run this beige vanilla playbook. And then everything starts to crumble because your distribution is bad and it stays bad. Your product offerings and the way you market is bad and it stays bad. You can only survive on that for so long. And in the wake of this announcement, they decided that they were going to announce that there's a new licensing partner with McFarlane Toys. Now, we're not sure yet exactly what McFarlane's going to be making or doing for Hasbro with their license. McFarlane has licensed something from them. And this comes in the wake of companies like Super 7 and, in a smaller way, Mezco and a few others also licensing things like the G.I. Joe brand and others. But I just don't see it as a good sign when Hasbro is unable to keep its own product offerings robust in the marketplace, and it goes to the extent that they have to fire laid off, but what's the difference at this point? 1,100 people, and they're trying to scrape back as much money as they can through licensing deals for other people to make their products. Now, this is not unique. Seems like everybody has sold out to Super 7 at this point. Mattel did it quite a while ago. Playmates Toys have done it, or whoever owns the Ninja Turtles merchandising license. I assume maybe it's not Playmates, maybe it's the people that own the IP, but you get the point. I don't know what, Book of Dark Secrets and Horrible Photographs Brian Flynn has on everybody in the industry, but I joke. But now with McFarlane stepping into the ring and also getting a license from Hasbro, it seems like Hasbro is really starting to become more of a holding company rapidly. If the product profit tumble was this steep that it required this response, even after there were, I remember at least one major layoff round and shakeup this past year. I can't remember if there was another one, but there have been multiple over the last few years. What does that say about the company's leadership? What does that say about the CEO and his abilities? It's not really a good situation, and I think it gets back to, like I said, when you ignore the distribution problems and you're not working with your retail partners, and then you over-leverage most of your profit on other licensed IPs that aren't your own brands, and you're not innovating and creating anything new in-house at the same time, if those brands start to get stale or start to fall out of favor, Star Wars, Ghostbusters has been rocky. It's a smaller fan base, but it's also kind of rocky with its media that supports the merchandise. Marvel has now fallen onto shaky territory with its movies and TV shows. And then they keep over-courting the adult rather than trying to bring the kids back. Like I talked about a few videos ago. What are you left with after a while? Overpriced products, continually poor distribution. You're doling out the same products all the time. You have a very predictable, strategy. You're not really innovating at all, both with making new inroads to capture the imagination of children, nor with the adult collectors who your price points are starting to get to the place where collectors might as well start jumping over to SH Figure Arts or Mezco or something like that, because what you're doing is both hard to acquire for no good reason whatsoever, it's not made in the volumes that meet demand, and it's no longer interesting. You can blame some of that on the intellectual property owners for bad movies and bad TV shows. But at the end of the day, if you're not changing your strategy and you're just, holding on with your fingernails to those IPs rather than going back into your own archives and pulling out the stuff that you could resurrect and reimagine that would be wholly your own, then you're a company without creativity anymore. And that comes from the leadership. So the leadership is responsible for these layoffs. It's mismanagement, and it's a portend for it's a portend for a future for Hasbro that I am having a hard time seeing right now. The other shocking thing about it is the fan reaction. There were a lot of reactions, as you can imagine, from people in the toy community. Some people who are known quantities in the toy community space. I'm loath to use the word influencer because I hate that word, but they ranged. One individual, and I mean, the thing that I love about this is that the people that responded and put out their statements and gave us their takes, all of them to a person are people who they believe wholly in this attitude of positivity at any price. They're always those people that are like, I'm all about being positive. And yet, it was so tone deaf. one individual said that, while it's bad that, people got laid off, I'm glad I got my his tank, laughing, crying emoji. And then, made the statement that, Hasbro is, doing a fan stream later or something. And he's like, the train's got to keep moving even if people fall off. Well, newsflash, those people, they didn't fall off the train. They were pushed off the train. There was another guy who was like, yeah, I got laid off one time and it was the best thing that ever happened to me professionally. And then he used the word, and there's so much to celebrate because G.I. Joe Classifieds is doing so well. Who says that when 1,100 people and their families have just been affected? Who says that?
Did I step on your moment?
I've said it for years. The people that are the most positive in this community, they're not positive about other people. They're positive about toys. That's it. When they say they want you to be positive, they want you to be positive about toys and toys alone. And the moment you're negative about toys, those super positive silver lining people, they will come at you like a spider monkey, and they will ruthlessly, personally just go at you. It's happened for years. But it was shocking to see that 1,100 people could be fired, laid off, whatever you want to call it. And to a person, there was a third guy that threw in with the others, and he said, he was like, this is absolutely the best way to look at this. This is the best take. This is absolutely the way we should be looking at this. And I'm like, wow. Because to a person, it was all, yeah, these people got fired, but we got some great toys coming out, and we should celebrate that. This is going to be great. Like, would you go to somebody's funeral and be like, hey, sorry your dad died, but, there's a lot to celebrate right now. I mean, did you see the new Snake Eyes that came out? Oh my God.
And the idea that those people could be happy today makes me really, really angry.
It's time and place and perspective, and I've said for years that the adult toy collector community often does not have it. And the last few days, they've been demonstrating it. I don't know. These are the people that are going to be with Hasbro until the end. And I'm not sitting here saying that there should be a boycott of Hasbro products or anything like that, because frankly, like I said, I can't see the future ever, but right now, the future of Hasbro is really in a fog as far as what they're going to become, because they're still not making the right decisions that are righting the ship, so to speak. And the only people that are still like totally on board are the blindly positive. I don't know if that requires some kind of psychological screening or not, but it really is showing a complete tone deafness, a lack of being able to figure out the right attitude, the right behavior in a certain time and place. And, right now the time and place isn't to sit around and dance around the campfire and all that. Now, these people in our community tend to have the attitude of, well, I just want to come to places where things are positive all the time, and we just need to be celebrating all the time and have fun all the time. I mean, okay. That's basically another way of saying I don't want to acknowledge reality. And while I appreciate your honesty for it in that moment, I don't think you realize what you're saying, because you challenge the idea that you're not plugged into reality. And then 1,100 people get laid off and statements like this are made.
You need to keep both eyes open.
I started this channel almost 12 years ago with the intent that through the videos I make, that there could be real adult discourse about these properties, that it could be a conversation that's more than just two guys sitting at a McDonald's near the comic book convention arguing about, Batman versus Spider-Man, that it could be something where we kind of level up the way we look at this stuff, where we're still having fun with it because we're still interested in it, but we can also be objective about it. And right now, I feel like some of the leaders in this community are failing us in that regard. They're setting a very ruthless, inhuman example with the veneer of I'm nice. What good is fake nice or vapid nice when people are hurting? Because that's not gonna improve their situation. It's just a bad look all the way around. And I'll fight anyone on that perspective, because I'm not going to walk into a hospital room or a funeral or walk into a house where somebody just got laid off and be like, oh, that sucks. Now, let me tell you about what I saw at Toys R Us.